Namaste everyone. Hope everyone is fine. This is Danya. Today we are going to discuss a topic in biology. The chapter name is life process and the topic is transportation. So generally transportation means movement from one place to another. Here in biology the transportation refers to the term called circulation, circulatory system. How the blood is circulating inside our system, that is our body, and why it is circulating, what means. So these are the topics we are going to discuss today. Let's move on to the topic. So normally in our homes we will be having a large water tank or borewells, right? So when we switch on the motor, what will happen? The water is pumped out and through the various pipelines it will reach the specific areas like gardens or kitchens or bathrooms. Likewise, the blood in our body is also pumped to reach the all tissue cells by a special vital muscular organ called heart. So the function of the heart is to pump the blood and make it available for the all cells and tissues. Okay. Generally, some people used to think the purification of blood is done by the heart, but it is totally wrong. Heart never purifies the blood. The only action of the heart is only the pumping work it is doing, pumping the blood and make it available to all cells and tissues. Then who is doing the purification work? Purification or filtration, it is done by kidneys. So heart work is pumping and purification work is done by the kidneys. This difference you have to make clear first. So in this class we will discuss about the structure and function of the transportation system, that is nothing but our heart. So fact for the day, heart is the most vital organ and it is made up of a hardest muscle, a special kind of muscles called cardiac muscles. You might have studied in lower classes. So in order to do the action called pumping and circulation, the heart is made up of a special type of muscles and it is the most important organ responsible for sustaining life and for maintenance function of living organism. Heart is very much essential. So imagine if you are at a rest, you are at a sleeping position, you are sleeping and your eyes are taking rest, your whole body is taking rest. The heart is the only organ which don't have any rest. Imagine what happen if heart is also taking a rest. So it is continuously pumping and circulating the blood throughout the body. In order to reach the blood to all cells and tissues, the main work is done by the heart and associated blood vessels. So these are the expected learning outcomes under the topic called transportation. At the end of this class, you may able to achieve these ELOs. Just have a view on that. Cardiovascular system. Here the two terms are embedded, cardiac system and the vascular system. Cardiac system is nothing but the heart is covered by a special type of muscles, hence cardiac system, and vascular system is blood and it is associated blood vessels. So what are the blood vessels? Arteries, veins and capillaries are the blood vessels. So cardiovascular system. Vascularized means supply of blood is called as vascular. So here in our second slide we have seen an example, right? How the water is pumped to various pipelines and to reach the specific spots. Like the same way, the blood pumped in the heart is via the blood vessels. So the blood vessels act here as a plumbing like a water pipeline. So it acts as a plumbing action and it is send the pumped blood to the various cells and tissues in our body. So coming to the position of the heart, it is located between the center of the right and left lung, in between right and left lung, and it is slanting towards the left side, hence it is, we call it as heart is positioned on the left side of our body. And mesodermal, it arises from the mesodermal germ layer. Means in embryonic development, after morula, blastula and gastrula stages are there, no? After that, the gastrula is converted into three germ layers: ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. So mesoderm is meso here, M, and M is represents the middle layer. So from the middle layer only cardiac muscles, skeletal muscles, everything is arising. So mesodermal germ layer only it give rise to heart. So mesodermal germ layer. And coming to anatomy, what do you mean by anatomy? In biology, the study of internal structures and organs. Any organ study, in any organs we are studying its internal structure, then it is called as anatomy. So inside the heart we are having chambers which act as the rooms, walls which act as the doors, blood vessels which is like for pipelines it is acting, so it is called as plumbing work it is doing, and electrical conduction system. So we will discuss the anatomy and function of the heart in detail in the upcoming slides. So the walls of the heart are nothing but the muscles. So epicardium, myocardium and endocardium are the composition of the cardiac muscles. Epicardium also called as pericardium. It acts as a protective layer. It is a double layer membrane. So pericardial fluid is present in between the layers and it acts as a lubricant and it prevents the friction caused when the heart is pumping. Myocardium is this large area, and so this is a thick layer. This large portion is called as a myocardium and it is very thick walls. And endocardium is the inner layer and it prevents the walls and chambers of the heart. Now coming to contraction and relaxation. So the muscle function is contraction and relaxation. So imagine if you are having a balloon and it is filled with water and it is having a tiny pores. So what is happen if you are contracting, if you are squeezing that, what will happen? The inside water is coming out. Like the same way, the chambers in the heart, due to the contraction of these muscles, the blood is passed from one chamber to another chamber in heart. Okay, septum. So right and left, the heart is having right side and left side. So right side and left side, the blood is continuously pumping through the right and left side. So in order to prevent the mixing of the blood from right side to left side, there is one division, and that division is called as septum. So the next slide, heart chambers. So chambers in sense two auricles and two ventricles. This is a structure of a human heart. A human heart is four chambered heart. So that is right auricle, right ventricle. So two auricles, left auricle, left ventricle. So two ventricles. So together four chamber. This is called as four chambers are acting as a rooms. So here you can see this auricles always carry the deoxygenated blood from other body parts, from all over the body cells and tissues. The deoxygenated blood is coming to right auricle and right ventricle. Okay, and after purification, this left auricle and left ventricle is carrying a good blood, and this blood is then circulating to the rest of the body and means it will reach the cells and tissues. So heart chambers are four chambered. Human heart is four chambered. So coming to heart walls, it is having four types of walls. So tricuspid wall is present between right atrium and right ventricle. So see, here it is. Now you can see the tricuspid wall. This is a tricuspid wall. It is present between right atrium in the right ventricle is down. This is right ventricle. This blue region, down region is right ventricle. So tricuspid valve is there. So the main function of the valve is to prevent this is right ventricle. The main function of the valve is to prevent the backflow of the blood. So right atriumல இருக்கக்கூடிய blood வந்து when the muscle is contracting, it is squeezing the blood from the right atrium to right ventricle. By that time, that squeezing time only, contraction time only, the tricuspid valve வந்து open ஆகும். அதுக்கப்புறம் இங்க இருக்கிற blood வந்து when it comes down, this valve is closed. Okay, like that. Left ventriculeக்கும் left atriumத்துக்கும் நடுவுல இருக்கக்கூடிய valve is called as mitral valve. This valve is otherwise called as bicuspid valve கூட. And then right ventricle and pulmonary artery. This is pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery ku right ventricle ku between la irukkudiya valve is called as pulmonary valve. And there is one more valve called as aortic valve. Here you can see. In between the left ventricle and the aorta. Aorta is the largest blood vessel. Here it is given. So the left ventricle and aorta nadula irukkudiya valve is called as aortic valve. So what is the main function of the valve? In order to prevent the backflow of the blood from one chamber to the other. So four types of valves are given here: tricuspid valve, mitral valve, pulmonary valve and aortic valve. So this is the structure of a heart structure and how the circulation mechanism. These arrow marks are very, very important. You should not change the arrow in any one direction. Means also if the changes, then the entire system is wrong. This is the structure of the heart, and this is how the blood is circulated inside the heart. We will elaborately discuss in the next slide. So coming to blood vessels, our body is made up of lot many blood vessels, arteries, veins and capillaries. Here in the diagram you can see red color. All these red color branches are the arteries. Why it is red color? Because it is carrying oxygen rich blood. Hence it is red in color. And these veins are the blue colored branches. So oxygen deficit blood that is coming for the heart. To get oxygen from the lungs. So this is blue color branches are called as veins, and the third one is capillaries. So small blood vessels where your body exchanges. So oxygen rich and oxygen poor blood, these both are exchanging in one region, that is called as capillaries. And coming to coronary artery, what is the function of the coronary artery? See, the heart is pumping the blood to all the pumping the blood and doing the function of circulation, right? So in order to pump the blood, in order to work efficiently, this heart also needs some energy and some nutrients, and that is provided by a special blood vessel called as coronary artery. So the coronary artery is only supplying nutrients which is essential for the working mechanism of the heart. Now you can see, guess the part. So this is an artery. You can see the stalk is called as arteriole, and it is divided into number of branches. And here this side venule. Venule stalk is called as venule from the veins. So this side is oxygen deficit blood, and here it is oxygen rich blood. So what is this tiny branches? Can you guess? Yes, these tiny branches are the capillaries. So these are the fine tubules. Many number of branches of very, very narrow tubules, and from this capillaries only this gaseous exchange take place, and from this capillaries it will reach to the all cells and tissues in the body. So the electrical conduction system is nothing but the process of sending electrical signals to the heart in order to pump efficiently. So SA node and AV node are two nodes which are made up of special type of cells that are conducting electrical signals to the heart. So SA node is elaborately called a sinoatrial node, which is present here. This first blue, this region is called as SA node. So that is responsible for conducting signals to make the heart to beat, and the second is called as atrioventricular node. This region is called as AV node or atrioventricular node, and this is responsible for the contraction and relaxation to send electrical signals to contraction of any one chamber and the relaxation of the another chamber. So inga right atriumல இருக்கக்கூடிய blood வந்து contract ஆனாதான் இந்த blood வந்து right ventricle-க்கு வரும். So these signals to contract of this right atrium, this signal is provided by this AV node. Okay, I will zoom here. You can see here. See, SA node and AV node are the two nodes present here, and these two nodes together called as pacemaker. So see how this brown this animation region is, this brown color circle, it is showing this animation. So this is how the heart, these pacemakers are sending the electrical signals to the chambers and in the heart. So you will understand better in the next slide. So this is a pacemaker. The two nodes are together called as pacemaker, which is sending the electrical impulses or electrical system. See, for example, if you are having a hot pan and you are touching it, the hot pan, what will happen? Immediately, less than a second, in a fraction of a second, we are taking that, taking our hand. This is because how the neurons, it will capture those signals, electrical signals, and it is sending to the brain, and in turn, brain is sending the signals. That is why we are taking our hand. That happens in a second, in a less than a fraction of a second. So the pacemakers will work more faster than the neurons. Then imagine how fast it will be. Not even a less than a second, that is. So this pacemaker is working that much faster. So this pacemaker is responsible for conducting the electrical impulses or electrical signals inside the heart to pump efficiently. So coming to the next slide, transportation animals, the so-called process called circulation or the pumping mechanism of the heart. Let me first explain the process, how the blood is circulating, how the blood is pumped in the heart. Then this is actually a video, this slide. So first I will explain that slide, and then you can see this video for your better clarification. So I have explained you the types of blood vessels, arteries, veins and capillaries. So the capillaries are the fine branches, very fine narrow structures. They are directly connected to the cells and tissues. From that they absorb the blood, they will collect the blood and they unite to form a veins. From that veins, this deoxygenated blood from all cells and tissues, it is reaching to the heart region called as superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Here superior, the name itself, it represents the superior part of the body, that is the top region of the body, head, brain, all the top regions. Okay, and so from those parts the blood is collected from the veins and it will reach, this is the largest vein, superior vena cava, and inferior is just vice versa, from the thigh, hip region, leg region, all those deoxygenated blood will be collected from the capillaries to veins and they united to form the inferior vena cava. So now this blue color it represents the blood without oxygen. So this deoxygenated blood from various parts of the body is reaching the right atrium. So now this right atrium is filled with blood, it needs to contract, it is squeezing, so the blood is passed to the right ventricle. So who is doing that? So some electrical signals, in the previous slide we have learned that electrical signals is given by the pacemaker. Pacemaker is given some AV node, is given some kind of electrical impulses, electrical signal. So this blood is this is contracting, so the blood is passing to the right ventricle. Okay, and after so in between this some valve is there. This we have discussed in the previous first, third or fourth slide. So tricuspid valve, which is closing and opening, this act as a doors, so it prevents the backflow of blood from this region to this region again. So now this deoxygenated blood, it has reached the right ventricle, right? From here this pulmonary valve is opening of the pulmonary valve, and from here to this is passing to the pulmonary artery. So this is getting contraction, so this blood is transferring from here to here and it is reaching the pulmonary artery. So in the beginning of the class I told you, arteries are the portions, are the blood vessels that carry oxygen rich blood, and veins which carries the oxygen deficit blood, like that. So pulmonary artery is the only artery in our body that carries the deoxygenated blood. This pulmonary artery is given in what color? It is blue color. So there is no oxygen in this blood. So pulmonary artery is the only artery that carries the deoxygenated blood in our body. Remaining all the arteries are carrying oxygenated blood and it will be in red color. So now from this pulmonary artery, this deoxygenated blood will be it will be sent out and it will reach us the lungs, where the lungs it will get oxygenated. Okay, for oxygenation only it is going to the lungs. So one step is completed. Now the this oxygenated blood again it is coming to the heart. Okay, so the oxygenated blood is coming through pulmonary veins. Veins are the carrying deoxygenated blood, but pulmonary veins is vice versa of this pulmonary artery. So this is the only vein that carries the good blood. It is carrying the oxygenated blood. So it is given red color here. So this oxygenated blood from the lungs are coming through the pulmonary veins. It is reaching the left atrium, and this mitral valve, or otherwise called as bicuspid valve, when it opens, this is getting squeezed by the signals, electrical signals sent by the pacemakers AV node. So this is pushed to the left ventricle then, and from the left ventricle this aortic valve is there. Aortic valve, if it opens, this good blood, that is oxygenated blood, this red color blood is from here via the aortic valve, it is reaching the aorta, and aorta is the largest blood vessel in our body. The largest blood vessel in our body is aorta. Pulmonary artery is the only artery which carries deoxygenated blood. Pulmonary vein is only vein that carries the oxygenated blood in our body. So now coming to the video transportation in animals, you can observe the video now. See, the capillaries will collect the deoxygenated blood, so that is in blue color. From the cells and tissues it will reach the veins, and these veins join together near the heart as superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. So superior vena cava is the region where the blood is collected from the top side. Superior itself, the name implies top side. So brain, our head, from that region. And inferior vena cava is from legs, thigh, hip region. The deoxygenated blood are collected. So the heart is pumping. So this is the heart chamber, first chamber, that is called as right atrium. So the deoxygenated blood is pushed to the right atrium by the vena cavas, and the right atrium is contracts by the signals from AV node. It is pushed to the right ventricle. So right ventricle is fully filled, it is pushed to the right ventricle, that is the second chamber, and from the pulmonary artery it is going to the lungs for getting oxygenation. So it is going to the lungs for oxygenation, the deoxygenated blood. So in reverse, the oxygenated blood, which is pure red in color, it is reaching the left atrium via the pulmonary vein. So when the left atrium is fully filled, it is reaching to the left ventricle. So the left, that node present between the bicuspid valve will be closing, and the left atrium blood is pulled to the left ventricle, and from the left ventricle via the aortic valve will be open. So the blood is again pushed to the aorta, which is the largest blood vessel, and from the aorta only the blood is passed to the arteries. Arteries are carrying the oxygenated blood, and from that it will reach us to the tiny minute branches called as capillaries, and from the capillaries they are supplying the blood to the cells and tissues. So this is the function of the transportation. This is the pathway where the circulation happens. The next one is LUB-DUB phenomena. So anyone is examining us through the stethoscope, they could have heard a sound LUB-DUB. The sound, the reason behind the sound LUB-DUB is nothing but the contraction and relaxation of those valves. LUB sound is tricuspid valve and mitral valve. See, in this animation they have clearly marked all the valves, and tricuspid and mitral valve they work together, and pulmonary and aorta valve they open and close together. So tricuspid and mitral valve, when they are functioning, some pressure is created against the blood, and that pressure is called as systolic pressure. By that time a sound is produced, and that sound is called as LUB. And pulmonary and aortic valve, you can see the animation, pulmonary valve and aortic valve they open and close together. When they open, the remaining, the tricuspid and mitral, they will close, and the vice versa. So this pulmonary and aortic valve is closing and opening. It is producing a sound called as DUB, and the pressure created there is mentioned as diastolic. So you can able to differentiate now between systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. So coming to blood pressure, having two types of blood pressure, that is systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. So in this animation you can see how the blood pressure within the artery. So see here, this bulging is creating, no, so this bulging is caused due to the pressure. So in artery the bulging is caused due to the pressure. So blood pressure in the artery during contraction is called as systolic pressure, and that valves when they are relaxing, then the pressure is caused, then that is called as diastolic pressure. So you can remember as CSRD, the letters C, S, R and D you keep in mind. So contraction systolic, relaxation diastolic. And this pressure can be measured in terms of mm of Hg is mercury. 120 mm is for systolic pressure and 80 mm mercury is for diastolic pressure. This is the normal values of blood pressure. So the next thing we are going to discuss is the term called SPHYGMOMANOMETer, which is nothing but an apparatus used to measure the blood pressure, like that of thermometer is for fever. So here in the SPHYGMOMANOMEter, here it is the level of the mercury. Mercury manometer will show the reading. It is having a portion called cuff, and end of this it will be having a rubber tube, rubber bulb like structure, and it is called as bulb. So while measuring the blood pressure, when we are giving continuous pump on that bulb, what will happen, this mercury, the mercury level tends to rise. So at particular point it will exceeds the pressure of the artery. So after that the artery pressure is stopped. When it exceeds the particular point, we gradually release the bulb. We gradually releases the pressure in the bulb. So this mercury manometer again it tends to come down. By that time, when this mercury level reaches the level of the arterial blood pressure, it will reach at some point, it both will meet, this pressure and artery's pressure will meet. By that time we will hear one sound, and that sound is called as systolic pressure. Systolic pressure will be noted there, and by that time when it meets the arterial pressure, by that time one sound started to hear, one sound will be heard in that stethoscope. So that sound is called as systolic pressure, and it is noted as 120. And when we are gradually again, when we are releasing that rubber bulb, at some point we will not hear any sound further, then that is called as noted as diastolic pressure. So the normal systolic pressure is 120 mm of Hg, and the normal diastolic pressure is 80 mm of Hg. So when this systolic pressure exceeds 120, then that is called as exceeds hypertension we will be calling. And if it is less than 80, the diastolic pressure is less than 80, then it will leads to a condition called as hypotension, hypertension and hypotension. So in human beings we are having 4-chambered heart, but in animals like frogs and reptiles the heart is only 3-chambered. So in these animals they can tolerate the mixing of blood to some extent, but in fishes the heart is only 2-chambered, and gills are carrying out the function of the lungs. Okay, so when the deoxygenated blood is coming to the heart and it is sent to the lungs for oxygenation purpose, and then from the lungs it is directly sent to the this is the key word, important word, directly from the lungs it is sent to the rest part of the body cells and tissues in fishes. But in human beings the heart is 4-chambered, so the deoxygenated blood it is coming to the heart, and then it is going via the pulmonary artery, it will reaches the lungs, and it is again coming back to the pulmonary via the pulmonary vein. The oxygenated blood is again coming back to the heart, it will reaches the left auricle and left ventricle, and then from there via the aortic valve it is reaching to all the cells and tissues. அப்ப ஹார்ட்டுக்கு ஹார்ட்ல இருந்து வெளில போயிட்டு லங்ஸ்ல இருந்து டைரக்டா போறது இல்ல, மறுபடியும் ஹார்ட்டுக்கு வந்துட்டு தான் மற்ற டிஷ்யூஸ்க்கு போகுது. ஆனா ஃபிஷஸ்ல அப்படி கிடையாது. ஸோ 2 தடவை ஹார்ட்டுக்கு வருது இல்லையா, அந்த ப்ராசஸ் தான் டபுள் சர்க்குலேஷன். திஸ் இஸ் அ இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் டேர்ம். And in this topic we have learnt more things like structure and anatomy of the heart, the circulation, the working mechanism of the heart, the types of blood vessels, types of blood pressure, sphygmomanometer, double circulation and etc. I hope you all understand well. Thank you.